Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and we have a lot to discuss today, so if you're able to come in and join up on this video on some news, I appreciate it so much. We're here to talk about a potential re-sign with one of our favorite players on defense, which is a must going forward. DeVonta Smith status for Sunday, and Fangio just gave out a whole bunch of news on the defensive roster. Obviously, the loss of Brandon Graham and potentially how he's going to kind of replace that. And a lot to talk about here, so let's get straight into it.
A killer buried, but not dead.
Darren, we better turn around. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo, what is going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. I hope everyone is enjoying their Thanksgiving today and, hanging out with your families, watching some football while we sit back and we wait until Sunday for a big game, and there's a lot to discuss here. Now, the first thing I kind of want to go over today is there is some news on an extension that could potentially be happening before the offseason, and that is for Zack Baun. Now, James Simone, this is from news from James Simone saying, Eagles and linebacker Zack Baun have mutual interest to get an extension done before the offseason, I'm told. So that's good. James Simone's pretty good. He's been right on a lot of things for some third-party news when it comes to extensions, re-signs, things like that. So he's pretty valid when it comes to some of his sources and his news. But I'm hoping this is 100% true. We know we don't want to hit the reset button. Well, if you let Zack Baun walk, it's just you already let TJ Edwards walk. You let Zack Baun walk, and then, Nakobe Dean's your only, best linebacker here. But I think when it comes to being Vic Fangio's protege, what he's done in the passing game, what he's done as a rusher, a downhill linebacker, it's been absolutely fantastic. Zack Baun, obviously 66 solo tackles, 2 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and a pick for the season. He's having a fantastic year. Fantastic. A guy that's really on a 1-year deal right now, getting paid $1.6 million. Absolutely amazing just how they sought this guy out. Fangio has an eye for talent. We all know this, and it's worked out really well. So for a potential re-sign, this is a must. A linebacker long-term in Philadelphia would be a great thing under the best defensive coordinator that made him great. Would be a good thing. So I'm hoping this is true and hoping we get some news down the line with that. Now, DeVonta Smith with this hamstring injury. This is going to be interesting now, okay? Now, somebody did tweet out to Jeff McClain saying, any updates on DeVonta Smith? And Jeff McClain says, my reporter senses that he still isn't close to 100% and that Sunday could be a reach, but we'll see how much he does at practice today, if anything at all. Okay. Now, if the Eagles don't have DeVonta Smith for this game, are they done? Are they fried? No, they're not. But it's another weapon that the Ravens really don't have to worry about, where if you have DeVonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, and you have obviously Saquon Barkley in the backfield, you put 8 guys in the box, you're going to have man-on-man coverage. You'll have a lot of man-on-man coverage across the board. The Eagles will be favorable in their matchups, and obviously the Ravens against the pass, they're almost dead last. I mean, they're bad. I mean, I think Nate Wiggins is grabby, holds too much. I think the Eagles should get some good PI calls. We should get some good PI calls in favoring our direction, and their other corner isn't really that good. I mean, I even watched them against the Chargers. They didn't really look good. You know what I mean? But, they're going to come after the quarterback, so we have to get these passes off and, hopefully the short passing game and just make things simple for Jalen Hurts. But this is big. If DeVonta Smith's not playing, it's definitely a big loss for this game. DeVonta Smith has been dealing with a lingering hamstring for a lot of weeks. And the Eagles are really trying to keep him healthy, but hopefully, look, even if they activate him, maybe he won't be 100%, but, I don't think it's going to be worth it to play him in this game if they really don't have to, and find another way to win. I know you scored 37 points last week without him, but this is different. You know what I mean? On top of, a team that's, a Ravens defense that's really good against the run. I still think the Eagles should just challenge them and run down their throats, and that's just me. But with the passing game, it should work out really well. And we know how that secondary is for the Ravens so far. I don't care what they have on the back end at safety, but they still got a lot to deal with regardless. So this one is still up in the air. If we at least see a light practice from DeVonta Smith this week, that probably could be a good sign. But potentially, he could be out another week, and it's already Wednesday. So, and I don't even think he's practiced yet this week. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. We'll see what happens when the time comes with the DeVonta Smith news at the end of the week. Now, Fangio had a lot to say at his press conference. We want to hear a lot, obviously about the game, and obviously talked about Brandon Graham, all of that great stuff. So a few things. Now, I think Fangio was joking, but Fangio really spoke highly of Brandon Graham, and I think, and he's treating Brandon Graham like he's 26 years old, playing like he's 26 on this team right now, and what he's done. He had coming off the best game since he's had since the last couple seasons. Okay, he talked about Brandon Graham, pretty much saying, you can't finish on an incomplete year. And I think having another year under his belt would be great under Fangio, to come back next year. I think Fangio does want him back. I don't think Brandon Graham is going to leave the Eagles. I've said this a million times, but we'll see what happens with that. But it's been a rough few days dealing with this, but we have to move on and we have to figure it out. So how are the Eagles going to figure it out? Well, he was asked about Charles Harris, he was asked about Charles Harris, the new defensive end that we just signed at 29 years old. He has 3 sacks for the season, 16 pressures, 20 tackles. So you're getting a guy that's ready to play right now. So that's good. They didn't get a guy that's retired. They didn't get a guy that hasn't played in a while, hasn't played in a couple years. They're getting a guy, they pretty much got the Panthers' best pass rusher. And bringing a savvy vet into this defensive line and seeing how he does. Now, Vic Fangio did say he has no idea. He has no idea about Charles Harris. I don't know if this is a lie because maybe he hasn't seen him at practice enough this week, but doesn't know what he's bringing to the table. So I don't know if this is a lie or he just doesn't want to give news out, any information out on what they're doing and who they're using, because you're facing the Ravens this week. You don't want to give out too much news, so he could be lying about the whole thing. Who knows? But Charles Harris, we'll see how he does. He talked about Teron Jackson possibly going to be playing in this game. He was here a few years ago. We drafted him. So that's a whole nother thing. We'll see what happens. Who gets elevated to the active roster? Personally, Bryce Huff, and obviously Brandon Graham not being here. He talked about Milton Williams. Someone asked him about Milton Williams playing on the outside. I think Milton Williams will only play on the outside if Jordan Davis gets more snaps. But he says that Milton Williams playing on the outside in general is not a steady diet. So he doesn't think that that's the right move. And I don't think that's the right move either, because you're technically, because Milton Williams is a better pass rusher than the rest of those DTs besides Jalen Carter, you're going to make that position a weakness if you move him on the outside. And I can't see Jordan Davis playing an entire game on his own. Obviously, he's going to rotate with Moro Jomo. He's going to rotate with Thomas Booker and stuff like that, which is great. But Milton Williams, you really need him next to Jalen Carter, because he will be guaranteed on those one-on-ones to really get a nice pass rush for us. So I think in certain situations they could put him on the outside, but as a full-time at defensive end, it's definitely not going to happen with Milton Williams. Now, talking about Graham's injury, and another question I was asked, it was about Zack Baun moving to the edge position full-time, and Fangio said, no, definitely not going to happen. You don't want to make another position weak, which you're going to do that. Same with Milton Williams, move to the edge full-time. You move Zack Baun. If you want to do 5-man fronts and put Zack Baun on the edge to create those one-on-ones across the board in the trenches, that's perfectly fine. But the problem I have is, you're going to make linebacker's going to be really weak. And yeah, sure, they could put Trotter at linebacker maybe, but Zack Baun is way too valuable, especially in his pass coverage. Okay. Him covering guys is like, he's our best coverage linebacker as of right now. Okay, and you don't want to take him out of that. Like I said, in situational, want to put him in a 5-man front on the edge as an edge rusher once in a while. That's perfectly fine. But full time, you don't want to move too many pieces in the middle of the season. That's the whole point of it. Like, you can't take players out of position and put them somewhere else. And not that Baun can't play on the edge, but you're just making another position weaker at that point. So I don't think you're really going to do that. Now, he did talk about Jalix Hunt as well. Now, he actually find out news. Now, Jalix Hunt, when Bryce Huff ended up getting the minor surgery a couple weeks ago, Jalix Hunt had like 23 snaps a couple weeks ago, which was great. And then he goes into this Rams game. They didn't put him in until the fourth quarter for like 9 snaps. Okay, so that was a big drop off, and I was wondering, why is there a big drop off in his reps? Because Bryce Huff's not even playing. I mean, then they really must not trust Jalix Hunt that much. But that's not the case. It looks like Jalix Hunt has been dealing with an ankle injury the last couple weeks, and I think they were just monitoring him last game. So he hasn't really been 100%, and he says that he should get more reps. He's even said that Nolan Smith should get more reps. So at least I feel better about the Jalix Hunt situation, that he was dealing with a little bit of an injury. I don't know if it was on the injury report that much, but we'll see what happens. And lastly, Fangio did talk about the corner position. He feels very comfortable with Isaiah Rodgers going in at cornerback for Darius Slay if Slay can't play. I don't know what Slay has concussion-wise. I know he's going through, I don't know if it's a grade 2, a grade 3. It looked pretty bad. I don't think it's a regular concussion. I think it's a lot worse than it is. But he's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. But he has to go through this whole concussion protocol, and it's a long process. And most likely, most of the time, when you get concussions in game, you're usually pretty much gone. You're pretty much out the next game, most likely. So talked about Rodgers and Ringo. He says that they're very close, but he likes Rodgers a little bit better. Rodgers is just more, he's outfitted for the position right now. I know he had some issues last week. Eagle fans were dogging on him against Puka Nacua, and Puka. Look, you're gonna lose some. You know what I mean? He's not shut down, but he's. I think he's relatively solid. Okay, and I think that's perfectly fine. You have a lot to deal with. Okay, with Flowers and obviously with a couple other receivers that are pretty good. You have a lot to deal with that Ravens offense, and he's got to be stout. He's got to be good. So we'll see what happens. I'm forgetting names because I know the big possession receiver I love from the Ravens a lot, but Flowers is one of the most dangerous receivers I think on Baltimore, because he can catch the ball in front of 3 guys and still outrun the whole defense. He's just that shifty and that great with his athleticism. It's fantastic. You have Mark Andrews you have to deal with. I mean, you have a lot to deal with that Baltimore offense, but you're hoping to get pressure, and you're hoping your corners are going to be able to cover some of these guys, but I think the pressure has got to be there, and I think Fangio is going to have to be a little bit more aggressive in this game. It's going to have to be a little bit more aggressive, and we need to see what this looks like without Brandon Graham. We need to see who gets elevated to the defensive line from practice squad, or who they're elevating for game day, who's going to be in this rotation for Sunday. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be really, really interesting. But Big Fangio feels pretty good about what he's got. And he could be lying to us about a couple things about Charles Harris and what's going on with him going forward. But we'll be ready to go. So other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. You guys have a fantastic Thanksgiving. And let me know, you guys, your thoughts on just the defense in general. If DeVonta Smith is out, how are they going to do this? Do you still think the Eagles have a chance without DeVonta Smith? And potentially a Zack Baun extension is rumored in the works before the offseason starts next season. So we'll be ready to go. So we'll have more talks tomorrow, and hope you guys enjoy the holiday. And enjoy the rest of your day. Let me know your thoughts, comment below. And if you guys got a chance to watch this video on a holiday, which I don't recommend anybody to do, I'm just putting content out there just to put it out there because this is just what I do every day. So if anybody showed up, I do appreciate it so much. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Whew, it's a lot of stuff. Can't wait to see what happens. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Shakes well, follow, so peace out, guys. Peace.